Mark Zuckerberg, the suspicious rebrand.
Mark Zuckerberg thinks he has you fooled. He has spent the past years suspiciously transforming his image from the geeky Silicon Valley.
Like, sorry, bro, just because you got TikTok hair and you're wearing fuckboy clothes, you're still a loser. You're still a loser who the first thing that you really did, in college before Facebook was creating a website to rank the appearances of women. Okay?
Genius to a red-pilled alpha bro. And all it took was one conversation on the Joe Rogan podcast to expose the evil intentions behind Zuck 2.0. The third richest man in the world wants you to think he is just like you. He dresses like you. He works out like you. He likes to have fun and be silly like you. He even loves his family just like you do. Oh, and most importantly, after decades of harvesting your data and controlling the information shown on your social media feed, he now stands for lower censorship and celebrating your First Amendment right on his platforms. He wants to gain back your trust, but why? Today we are going to uncover what is really going on behind Mark Zuckerberg's new persona. Isn't it ironic that a seemingly antisocial, unrelatable Harvard genius created the framework for the future of human social interaction? If you ever heard Mark have a conversation, you wouldn't exactly mistake him for a socialite.
You seem to be replacing Larry and Sergey as the people out here who everyone's talking about. You're just staring at me.
Is that a question?
Yeah.
Because of his awkward demeanor, frequent glitches in speech, and beady, soulless eyes, some people legitimately believe he is not human, that he is some sort of crash test dummy with AI software installed.
Oh, he's soulless for sure. Do you think Creator Clash could get him as a replacement opponent for Will? You know what? If they did, I would jump in that ring.
And look, even though I try to keep my videos mostly objective and fact-based, I also love me a good conspiracy theory. And Zuckerberg not being a real human has way too much evidence for you to not even consider it just a little bit.
But it is going to bother you because you're human, and I was human. I am human, still. But I was just referring to myself in the past. Not that I was not human.
Zuckerberg, I remember well your first visit to Capitol Hill back in 2010.
Control Houston, please call station for voice check.
All right, station, this is Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook. Can you hear me okay?
It's a pleasure to talk with you today.
Great to talk to you guys too.
He's like an annoying tech billionaire villain who pops up in the beginning of an Invincible episode and then just gets his ass beat. I am here to take over the world! Ha-ha! And then just gets immediately beaten to a pulp.
And is astronaut ice cream
You
a
can't
real
stop
thing?
me!
Are the allegations true that you are secretly a lizard? I'm gonna have to go with no on that. I am not a lizard.
And it makes it even harder for him to beat these allegations when he explains to Joe Rogan how basic human conversations work, as if he just made a revolutionary discovery.
Your kind of subconscious kicks in, you start thinking about the topic. So it's like you might not actually have the thing that you want to say until like 5 minutes later. Right. And like when we started this conversation, I think like the first few minutes were just kind of slow. It's like warming up. Like, I'm like, okay, kind of like downloading into my memory, like how am I gonna like just explain these different things, but it's I just think that's sort of how people work.
However, we do know that CEOs transform their image and speech to be kind of robotic on purpose. They do rigorous media training because one wrong answer, one wrong word, even a wrong display of emotion can result in overwhelming bad publicity, which could drive down the stock price and upset shareholders. But Mark's robotic demeanor has generated a vast range of conflicting opinions about him, with many believing that he is a power-hungry oligarch looking to destroy human civilization. But to understand where those suspicions came from, we must dive into the dark history of Facebook's origins. Facebook was a stolen idea. In 2004, Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss wanted to create a website for Harvard students to add people as friends, send them messages, and update their personal profiles to notify friends about themselves. They called it Harvard Connection, which was later rebranded to Connect You, and they partnered with Mark Zuckerberg to build the website. But Mark had other plans. In leaked instant messages to a friend from his college years, Mark wrote, "So you know how I'm making that dating site? I wonder how similar that is to the Facebook thing, because they're probably going to be released around the same time, unless I f the dating site people over and quit on them right before I told
Like I said, Social Network went way too easy on Mark Zuckerberg.
I'd have it done. He later confirmed to that friend that he intended on screwing the Winklevosses over, and Mark did exactly that. He built Facebook while delaying Connect You, lying to the Winklevosses and not meeting deadlines. As if stealing their idea and sabotaging their company wasn't scummy enough, Mark also showed how conniving he truly is, attempting to destroy the Winklevosses' reputation. After he left the Connect You team, he hacked into their server, exploited a flaw in their system, and created another Cameron Winklevoss account. Before Mark admits, we copied his account, like his profile and everything, except I made his answers all like white supremacist. Mark was extremely aware of his twisted intentions. He even called Facebook users dumb for trusting him. And your data being in control of someone untrustworthy may not seem like a big deal, but it is. You or I could go to any data broker's website right now and buy anyone's data for a few bucks. It's completely legal. Big companies with poor security.
Yeah, man, I remember when that quote of Zuckerberg's was came out, where he was laughing about how stupid people are to have given him their data for free. And, you know, ultimately, like, Mark Zuckerberg's thing is he loves feeling like an overlord of the human race. You know, this is a common thing with tech bros, where they love to feel as if they are simply the super genius super villains of this world. It's a superiority complex, and you know, you look at how like a lot of Elon Musk's success came from just buying other people's companies, right? It's like Elon Musk didn't create Tesla himself. Mark Zuckerberg stole Facebook, and how ultimately this is just about guys who are just so insanely narcissistic, and it's not about them actually being the smartest people who have ever lived. Elon sued to be called founder, right? It speaks to what narcissistic assholes they are.
Are getting hacked every day, and your personal information is being sold on the dark web so spammers, scammers, and identity thieves can target you. If the government can do something like ban TikTok, why won't they protect you from these similar practices? It's on us to protect ourselves, which is why I use today's sponsor, Aura. Aura keeps you safe online by doing all of the hard work. They will identify data brokers who are selling your information and submit opt-out
and
requests.
And also how
like
these guys are driven by their need for retribution by anybody that they've ever felt rebuffed by, right? Mark Zuckerberg, who created a website to rank to compare female students and have people rank their appearance against one another, and how that was a way for him to like feel powerful. And it's always, you know, it's always these guys who really are just fucking losers. They are losers, and they want to feel supremely powerful, and they also want to they want to hold that power over anybody who they feel they were personally slighted by. Another weird thing is that tech billionaires consistently do is that they want to be seen as being good at physics. 8 Collier has a good video breaking down the weird obsession with being seen as smarter than everyone else in the room. Physics is just a shortcut to that perception.
Eduardo was responsible for setting up the legal structure for Facebook, raising additional capital, and crafting a solid business plan, which he did not efficiently do according to Mark. As Facebook gained momentum, cracks in their...
Like, the thing that I've always found with truly brilliant people is that they don't brag about their brilliance. They don't have this need to establish over and over again how they're the smartest person and how everybody is just fucking stupid, haha.
partnership widened. Eduardo's distance from the day-to-day operations frustrated Mark, who had started collaborating closely with Silicon Valley heavyweights like Sean Parker and Peter Thiel. Eventually, Mark and his allies devised a controversial strategy. Through a series of complex and ethically questionable legal maneuvers, they restructured the company to dilute Eduardo's ownership. His stake in Facebook plummeted from 30% to just about 4% by the time Facebook went public. But Eduardo's story didn't fade quietly into the background. Thanks to the dramatic courtroom battles that followed, his own accounts of the events in his book, and the $224 million box office hit movie The Social Network, the world had an extremely negative view of Mark Zuckerberg. Mark said that the movie, quote,
my Prada's at the cleaners!
made up a bunch of stuff that I found kind of hurtful.
You ever end up seeing the film, The Social Network?
Yeah, I did.
Cool. Oh, thanks. What did you...
Honestly, fuck SNL, man. How many times throughout SNL's history have they done shit like this?
What'd you think?
It was interesting.
Interesting. You know what? I'll take it.
Now, some people look at Mark's past as nothing more than a cocky 19-year-old kid making teenage mistakes, while others feel that this is an extremely concerning origin story for the man who currently has control over the privacy of 3 billion people around the world. Mark has fought relentlessly to maintain an incredible amount of power at Facebook. He quite literally cannot be fired. While he only owns about 13% of the company, he also personally controls nearly 60% of the voting power of Facebook shares, because there are two kinds of Facebook stock. The Class B shares that Zuckerberg and other insiders own have 10 times the voting rights of Class A shares. Because of Mark's shady past and immense power, the press put a little bit of pressure on him. However, Mark refused to give straight answers, particularly when it came to privacy. Like in 2010, when he was asked a very simple question and began to sweat profusely, panicking for seemingly no reason.
Do you feel like it's a backlash, or do you feel like you're violating people's privacy? Do you feel like you're adequately portrayed as a... Because I want to wonder about the person who actually created this thing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff happened along the way. I think, there were real learning points and turning points along the way in terms of building things. I can't go back and change the past. I can only do what we think is the right thing going forward.
Yeah, I can only make it worse. I can only become even more of a, tech billionaire oligarch. I can only become even less in tune with humanity and get a broccoli haircut.
So, before we move off this privacy thing, and I thought that was a fascinating answer.
It's okay. You want to take off the hoodie?
I never take off the hood.
I know you don't. What's with that?
No.
Girls?
Whoa.
All right.
Sorry. Yeah, that's okay.
Maybe I should take off the hood.
Oh my God,
But
this
what
is
exactly
so
was
uncomfortable. I have never seen that interview. Jesus Christ.
he hiding? Well, maybe the main driver of his revenue. Since Facebook is a free service, they make nearly all of their revenue by selling advertisements. The surface level business model is relatively simple. The more time users spend on the app, the more ads they can show. Therefore, the goal is to keep growing the user base
Mr. Mikey,
and keep
thank you for
people
the
on
5
the app
months.
as long as possible. But the amount of data that they collect about you in order to show you these ads is not only ethically questionable, it's borderline surveillance. They receive your credit score, your IDs, physical locations, political and religious beliefs, all of your text messages, microphone access, web browsing history. They quite literally get access to your entire life just because you want to use their app and they want to sell you specialized advertisements. Then again, you did agree to their terms of service, and you do have the ability to opt out. But the practices they use to keep you on the app is nearing psychological warfare. In 2016, a whirlwind of chaos erupted. We had the most turbulent presidential election in history.
But yeah, remember, it's only Chinese-owned social media companies that are the problem here when it comes to our data, when it comes to protecting our data.
the Brexit referendum, and billions of people spending more time than ever before online. And Facebook decided to change the way their algorithm worked. Mark wrote in an update letter, "We will also prioritize posts that spark conversations and meaningful interactions between people. To do this, we will predict which posts you might want to interact with your friends about, and show these posts higher in feed." Now the problem was what the algorithm deemed as the most meaningful content. For the most politically oriented 1 million American users, nearly 90% of the content that Facebook shows them is about politics and social issues. Now combine that with an even bigger problem, political and social issues that made people angry were designed to reach the tops of people's feeds. The algorithm had assigned reaction emojis, including the angry emoji, 5 times the weight of a simple like, according to company documents. This meant that millions and millions of people were essentially trapped in an echo chamber of argumentative content about political and social issues. But it gets worse. A private company with sinister intentions was able to obtain private data from Facebook due to inadequate oversight. Remember those goofy personality quizzes you'd see back in the day on Facebook? Well, chances are if you took one, you helped fuel political propaganda. Alexander Kogan created an app called This Is Your Digital Life. The app was presented as a personality quiz that required users to be logged into Facebook to take. So not only did it collect the quiz data, but also all of the personal information that Facebook takes from you. The app also accessed data from users' friends without their explicit consent. Kogan harvested information from up to 87 million Facebook profiles and sold the data to Cambridge Analytica, who then created psychological profiles of Americans for targeted political advertising, deep diving into their exploitable traits obtained from Facebook likes.
The Kenyatta campaign, which we ran in 2013 and 2017.
Man, I obviously understand, roughly what's been going on with Facebook, but I haven't been on Facebook myself. I got off that site. I got off that site a long time ago, and I can only imagine how awful it must be to be on now. Like, it seriously does just seem like a place, the social media site for boomers to share their memes about Obama and Hillary Clinton. They're asking for your fucking government ID now to reactivate. Oh, yeah, I mean, Elon Musk and his buddies over at Doge are trying to access people's security information.
For Kenyatta.
And what you have done in the Kenya?
We have rebranded the entire party twice, written their manifesto, done 2 rounds of 50,000 surveys.
Huge amounts of research, analysis, messaging.
And then we'd write all the speeches and we'd stage the whole thing. So just about every element of his campaign.
But Mark vehemently denies that social media contributes to political radicalization or polarization.
Grounding this conversation in the actual research that has been done on this, which by and large finds that social media is not a large driver of polarization. So,
okay. Yeah, this fucking Weasley little liar, dude. It's kind of crazy that our parents warned us about spending too much time online, but they're the ones who won't put down their phones now. My father spends his entire day on Facebook, and that's where he gets his info. Yes, the amount of email chains I am on with people who are over the age of 65 sharing things that they pull directly from Facebook. I'm like, please get me out of here. Get me out of here. Yeah, and it's like, why is it that the internet is seen as a problem for young people, for like trans kids who are accessing life-saving information, who are finding community, and not for boomers who are falling for every single thing that they see on Facebook?
The question is, what are the unique phenomena in the different places? And I think for the people who are trying to say, hey, social media is the thing that's doing this, I think that clearly doesn't hold up, because social media is a phenomenon that is pretty much equivalent in all of these different countries.
Now, in all fairness...
Yeah, so when he says that Facebook has not contributed to any polarization, this man is a liar, okay? Remember, like in the 2010s, Zuckerberg hired on a bunch of Republican advisors and executives, and they worked to shape the policies of the platform to make sure that right-wing extremist views were all over the place on Facebook. One of the guys that he hired was a guy named Joel Kaplan, who had worked for W. He had worked in the W administration, and employees at Facebook talked about how he, with Zuckerberg's approval, was crafting these policies and doing things like allowing psychopaths like Alex Jones and extremist groups like the Oath Keepers to continue organizing and disseminating their dangerous lies on the platform. So Zuckerberg, he's a liar, as we know. He intentionally hired right-wing extremists to shape the platform into what it is today.
This is exactly how we would expect him to respond. But this raises an even...
He just fired a bunch of liberals who are very pro-Israel but still libs and replaced them with Bush and Trump people. Yeah, I mean, this guy who was sitting behind Donald Trump at his inauguration, like, we know fully what he is about now. Who said Donald Trump is a badass? Why does his skin look so nice, though? First of all, I don't think his skin looks that nice, and I'm speaking as somebody whose skin currently looks like this. Second of all, because remember, he's not a human. It's latex.
More important question. Is it Facebook's civic responsibility to regulate these radical individuals' behavior? Or is it the user that needs to take accountability for their own actions and beliefs? But is it even their fault if they are being psychologically manipulated by algorithms? Or more importantly, are these politically charged posts even being made by real people? Yes, Facebook is a private company, but have they become too big, too powerful? 65% of America uses one of Meta's products. Therefore, they have direct influence over 2/3 of the country. This resulted in Facebook getting slammed in the media, specifically blaming them for spreading political
Also, Mark Zuckerberg, libertarian white guy with an Asian wife. Classic.
Misinformation that they believe led to the election of Donald Trump.
I was really worried from the beginning about basically becoming this sort of decider of what is true in the world, right? That's like kind of a crazy position to be in for billions of people using your service.
So the company invested in a complicated bureaucratic operation of independent third-party fact-checkers globally who are certified through the Nonpartisan International Fact-Checking Network. Unfortunately, this system wasn't deemed to be good enough or accepted by really anyone, but more specifically the US government. So they called Mark Zuckerberg in for a congressional hearing in regards to Facebook's privacy and use and abuse of data, and this could not have gone any worse for Mark Zuckerberg. His robotic speech was worse than ever. He was looking incredibly nervous, looking like he had to remind himself that humans have to blink and drink water occasionally. He sat on a booster seat to make himself appear taller. His face was pale white. His eyebrows were non-existent. He had a terrible haircut and there was no soul in his eyes. He looked like an avatar of himself and it was creepy. But what he said was even worse than how he looked.
Senator, I think
Have you seen the statue he commissioned of her? No, I'm looking it up right now. Mark Zuckerberg, statue of wife? What the fuck? Mark Zuckerberg's wife, Priscilla Chan, poses with bold Roman of course all these fucking guys are like, oh yeah, I care a lot about history, and it's always the Roman Empire. It's always the Roman Empire. Ask every single fuckface who works for Doge, what is your favorite part of history? The Roman Empire. Classic. The colorful statue depicts the mother of three standing in a windblown silver garment. I'm sorry. I think this looks ugly as fuck. I do. And not just because it's Mark Zuckerberg who commissioned it. Like, especially in this backyard like that. Bringing back the Roman tradition of making sculptures of your wife. Zuckerberg captioned the post, which also included a video of the statue in a garden. Can you imagine going to, like, someone's home and just seeing this in the backyard? I'd be like, yeah, I gotta go. I gotta go. All the money in the world and still got no taste. That's how it always works. This was placed at their Seattle home, which includes an entire neighborhood that he bought full of empty houses. Oh, yeah, he loves to do that. Like how he has bought up so much land in Hawaii to build his fucking bunker. You know what I would love? I would love if Mark Zuckerberg decided to test out his bunker and then couldn't get out of it. Wouldn't that be awesome? If he like goes in his panic room and then can't get out. The problem that with that, him being obsessed with Caesar things, they don't want to be an emperor. They don't actually look at why Caesar gained popularity. Well, Zuckerberg has repeatedly shown his obsession with the Roman Empire. I mean, look at this. Look at these shirts that he loves to wear as part of his rebrand, these fits of his. He wore this black shirt he's wearing has the text Ot Zuck Ot Nihil. Night, whatever. And that is a play on either Caesar or nothing. So it translates to either Zuck or nothing. When I say this guy is the biggest loser, a man who is obsessed with the Roman Empire because he envisions himself as an emperor. That's what I mean. Oh, yeah. At his 40th birthday party in May, he donned a black tee with the motto, Carthago delenda est, which translates from Latin to Carthage must be destroyed. He also wore a drop-shouldered black shirt reading Pathe Mathos, which is Greek for learning through suffering. Who's the bigger loser, Zuck or Elon? Elon. To me, he's number one biggest loser in the world. The richest man in the world, who is also the biggest loser in the world. You know, Zuckerberg is awful. Don't get me wrong, okay? He's a prick. He's a piece of shit. But Elon is number one. Climbing higher every day. Yeah, he just solidifies being number one more and more every day. What were those comments that he said when, how he's doing the press briefings? Because of course he is. Elon Musk says he doesn't bat. Yeah, okay. Musk appears at White House defending Doge's work, acknowledging mistakes. I'm trying to find this quote. He was asked about the claim that he had spread about the U.S. spending $50 million on condoms for Gaza, which is disgusting. And in response to being asked that question, this is what he said. Some of the things I say will be incorrect and should be corrected, so nobody can bat 1,000. What a fucking loser, man. Like, okay, cool. Yeah. But he always says it like he thinks he is really funny. That's the thing about Musk. Musk has the most Redditor energy of all time. Okay? He loves to speak in memes, but especially memes that are no longer like funny and cool, you know? And he loves the sideways laughing emoji, you know, loves saying things like, interesting. But he has such Redditor energy, and he is always laughing at the things that he says because he genuinely thinks that he's a comedian, that he's funny, right? He makes my skin crawl. Same. What I will say is, like, when you picture, you know, when you think of like the worst type of Redditor energy, okay, that is Elon Musk. I don't mean those of us who like to go on r/quit vaping at 3:00 in the morning. All right. Out of all the things wrong with him, I don't see anything wrong with finding yourself funny. I do when he spreads lies on the biggest communication platform. And then when he is called out on that, he goes, yeah, some of the things I say will be incorrect and should be corrected. Nobody can bat 1,000. That, like, the things that, the damage, the danger that Elon poses is not funny. And he thinks he is hilarious. I have a problem with someone finding themselves hilarious when they buy a website in order to spread and allow dangerous rhetoric to proliferate. Yeah, and when this person the things he finds funny being pro-Hitler statements.
As a general principle, I think protecting minors and protecting their privacy is extremely important. And we do a number of things on Facebook to do that already, which I'm happy to get into.
And I appreciate it. I'm talking about a law. I'm talking about a law. Would you support a privacy bill of rights for kids where opt-in is the standard? Yes or no?
Senator, I think that that's an important principle. And
I appreciate that.
And I think we should.
Do we need a law to protect those children? That's my question to you. Do you believe we need a law to do so? Yes or no?
Senator, I'm not sure if we need a law, but I think that this is...
He was reposting stuff saying the F slur the other day. Yes, he very much so has how do you do fellow kids energy when it comes to wanting to be an edgy teen who says slurs.
It's certainly a thing that deserves a lot of discussion.
I couldn't disagree with you more. We're leaving.
Like usual, he couldn't give a straight answer. He is a professional corporate question dodger.
Do they provide the same service you provide?
In different ways, different parts of it,
Let me put it this way. If I buy a Ford and it doesn't work well and I don't like it, I can buy a Chevy. If I'm upset with Facebook, what's the equivalent product that I can go sign up for?
Well, there's the second category that I was going to talk about.
I'm not talking about categories. I'm talking about, is there real competition you face?
Yes, Senator. The average American uses 8 different apps to communicate with their friends and stay in touch with people, ranging from texting apps to email.
Is the same service you provide?
Well, we provide a number of different services.
Is Twitter the same as what you do?
It overlaps with a portion of what we do.
You don't think you have a monopoly?
It certainly doesn't feel like that to me.
Okay. So after 5 hours of painstaking investigation, the American people learned basically nothing about how Facebook works, what they do with user data, and it did not immediately result in changes in legislation. However, in regards to the Cambridge Analytica scandal, in 2019, the Federal Trade Commission fined Facebook $5 billion for privacy violations. Facebook stole your data, and the government got a payday.
It's tough to be at the other end of that.
What was it like?
Well, it's not good. I think, well, the thing that I think is actually the toughest, though, is it's global, right? So And really, when you think about it, the US government should be defending its companies. I do think that the American technology industry is a bright spot in the American economy. I think it's a strategic advantage for the United States that we have a lot of the strongest companies in the world. I think it should be part of the US's strategy going forward to defend that.
But it was about to get worse. If you thought the world was chaotic during the 2016 election, it pales in comparison to the 2020 pandemic. People were locked inside, petrified of getting sneezed on, the virus death toll seemed to be exponentially increasing, and different information came out every day about the proper protocol to stop the spread. Zuckerberg 100% confirmed suspicions that the government was pushing a controlled narrative about the pandemic.
You know what I will say though, okay, is how you look at these tech billionaires, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, and how they have undergone their glow up, right? Where they want to be seen as cool. They want to have swagger. Jeffy B's got his fiance, Lauren Sanchez, and the two of them, you know, with their tight clothing and their Botoxed faces and partying on yachts. Mark Zuckerberg with his broccoli TikTok haircut and his, $2,000 shirts with Latin writing on them. Elon, just looks worse and worse. Elon has had he is going downhill. He's going downhill. The more children that he produces in his plan to repopulate the earth with his spawn.
Pandemic.
While they're trying to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who is basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were honestly were true. Right, I mean, they basically pushed us and said anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down.
Build
I was
like
just
a Cybertruck.
We're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is inarguably true.
Now, at the time, if you thought mass censorship was happening, you would have been called a conspiracy theorist. But today, Mark seemingly has the confidence to criticize the US government, specifically criticizing the Biden administration after they lost the 2024 election.
These people from the Biden administration would call up our team and scream at them and curse. And it's like, these documents it's all kind of out there.
This is what "I'm sorry, I want to be on the winning side" looks like. Yeah. Many people believe that Zuckerberg is paying.
There's a lot of people that you should have listened to calling out the Biden administration, not Mark Zuckerberg. Not Mark Zuckerberg with his embrace of right-wing politics, with him wanting to be on the Trump train, describing Trump as a badass. So when it comes to those who have legitimately called out the Biden administration, I ain't listening to Mark Zuckerberg.
To the renaissance of private citizens demanding less censorship and less government control over information. And he's shifting all of the blame to the Biden administration that is no longer in power and being like, oh my god, the government is so corrupt, right guys? But he isn't just blaming the government. He is also blaming the third-party fact-checking organization he hired for being too biased. This has resulted in a major change in content policy on Facebook.
First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes, similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote non-stop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US.
One of Meta's fact-checking partners responded to this saying, they used Meta's tools to submit fact checks and followed Meta's rules that prevented the group from fact-checking politicians. Meta ultimately decided how to respond to the fact checks, adding warning labels, limiting the reach of some content, or even removing the posts. This, again, just furthered the idea for people that he is trying to absolve himself or his employees of any blame for being a part of the machine used to control narratives, amplify hate, suppress facts, politics and ultimately divide Americans. And whether or not this is a clever smokescreen or a genuine concern.
Yeah, all of this is a part of Mark Zuckerberg's rebranding of his image. Remember, like, Mark Zuckerberg was arguably the most despised Silicon Valley tech guy. He did not have many friends. He did not have this perception of him as like a cool dude, either by liberals or by MAGA. So what he's been doing is massively doing an overhaul of his entire image, whether that, you know, from what he looks like, how he dresses, how he has his hair and everything, to the way that he talks about the problems that existed on Facebook. The fact that he said the fact checkers were politically biased should be such a blatant self-report, except facts don't matter anymore. Yeah, I mean, he's been able to like excuse himself from his culpability in all of this, his responsibility in this, and is taking the tact of like, I'm all about free speech, right? This is why these changes are being made, because we are no longer going to it's like we're all looking for the guy who did this type of thing. And he's like, yeah, we're gonna be moving into an era of true free speech.
It is clear that Mark does understand some major shifts in public discourse.
They trust the creators and the voices that they feel like are being authentic and giving them valuable information on there. So there's, I think, going to be just this whole new class of creators who basically become the new kind of cultural elites that people look at and are like, okay, these are the people who give it to me straight. I think that's a thing that is, maybe it
is always amazing how it is the most cultural elites who will always talk about the cultural elites, where they'll be like pointing fingers and talking about the cultural elites. It's like, dude, you are like the third richest person. You are a tech billionaire talking about the cultural elites, but this is part of the Donald Trump agenda. Donald Trump, who succeeded in painting himself as not part of the establishment, as the outsider, as like, one of the people, as the populist guy. Talking about all of these cultural elites.
It's possible because of social media.
But why does Mark all of a sudden feel like he needs to speak out against these issues? He says it's not because of the election, but then immediately contradicts that by saying how they tried to make company decisions based on whatever the mainstream opinion is.
I mean, at this point, I think a lot of people look at this as like a purely political thing. It's because they kind of look at the timing and they're like, hey, well, you're doing this right after the election. It's like, okay, I try not to like change our content rules like right in the middle of an election either, right? It's like, there's not like a great time to do this. It's,
right. And you want to do it a year later.
Yeah, it's like there's no good time to do it. There's,
right.
And whatever time is going on, there's going to be the good thing about doing it after.
Oh yeah, no, this just was random. Yeah. It could have been like any other Tuesday.
The election is you get to take this kind of cultural pulse as like, okay, where are people right now, and how are people thinking about it? We try to have policies that reflect, mainstream discourse.
Shifting gears after an election cycle isn't exclusive to Facebook. Businesses of this size are always cautiously straddling the fine line between opposing ideologies, doing their best to stay attractive in a turbulent political climate. But many believe that the only reason his perfectly timed shift in ideology is even remotely believable is because of his physical transformation, that this is all a highly calculated PR campaign. Nobody would buy a single word he is saying if it was coming from the empty-eyed, pale-skinned, horrible haircut, and robotic speech Mark Zuckerberg. The last time he tried to relate to us mortals, it made him look less human than ever.
I like racing. I don't know how many of you guys like doing that, but that's, I feel like all these
activities, grilling meats, racing cars, are probably two of the most fun things that
human
that you
skin
can do.
suit has improved.
So yeah.
So he traded in the prim and proper cut for some modern messy curls, replaced the boring gray shirts for an oversized boxy fit streetwear tee and a long gold chain. But it doesn't stop at the surface. Mark even ditched the sedentary office lifestyle for the action-packed world of mixed martial arts, training with some of the most lethal fighters in the world. He often posts his black eyes and injuries, and even says that he would like to one day compete in a real MMA match. Suddenly, he becomes less of an enigma and more like someone
You know what I think? I think every single person who has been who's been on Facebook had our data stolen. We should all get one punch. One.
Might meet at a local gym, grappling with the same struggles and setbacks as any aspiring athlete. He has expressed a newfound love for hunting. He even vowed that he will only eat meat that he has killed himself. And with this transformation, Mark thinks he has you fooled. He thinks that you can't tell that this is a PR campaign.
But when you're fighting, it's like, no, that's like, I think in some ways when people see me competing in the sport, they're like, oh no, that's the real Mark. It's like, because it goes back to all the media training stuff we were talking about. When I'm going and giving my sound bites for 2 minutes, it's like, no, it's like, fuck that guy. It's like, that's the real one.
But why does
It's also part of being in the alt-right manosphere, right? When he posts videos of him drinking a beer, surfing with an American flag for 4th of July, when he goes on Joe Rogan, like this is what this is more of what we have been talking about before the election and after the election, where it is this bro image. It's this like, yeah, I go to the gym. Yeah, I wear cool chains. Like, I'm a dope, cool dude who believes in free speech. I'm one of the bros.
He needs you to like him or trust him. He is nearly the richest man in the world. He has over 3 billion people using his products. What more could he possibly need? Well, it could be argued that he is only now contributing to the narrative that our current world is borderline dystopian, in hopes that those listening will flee to a world that he created, a world that he calls the Metaverse. Zuckerberg rebranded the company as Meta on October 28, 2021, and conveniently during the heat of the pandemic, he revealed a new plan for an embodied internet experience, explaining it as a way to be inside of or one with the content, rather than viewing it on a screen.
Yeah, and people didn't fuck with this.
All right, perfect.
Boy.
Oh, hey, Mark. Hey, what's going on?
Hi, Mark. He just wanted to play Dressed to Impress.
Floating in space? Who made this place? It's awesome.
Right? It's from a crater I met in LA.
This place is amazing.
Boz, is that you?
Of course it's me. You know I had to be the robot, man.
I thought I was supposed to be the robot.
In true Zuckerberg fashion, he didn't create the metaverse. He just stole the name to make everyone think it was his brainchild. The metaverse is more of a general description of any immersive virtual world where people can work, play, and socialize. Roblox and VR chat are considered metaverse platforms. However, Facebook's version is called Meta Horizon Worlds, and it's an abysmal failure. Most people think this is just a bad video game with no storyline.
Does the metaverse have legs yet? No, it was, as he just said, it was a total fucking failure.
And horrible graphics. But Mark Zuckerberg genuinely believes that this is the future of human civilization, that we will all one day work, socialize, and play in this reality that he created. But it's not.
He bought Facebook bought Oculus for $2 billion. Meta bought Oculus for $2 billion. And this wasn't just like about Mark wanting to get into VR because he thinks it's cool. Like, this was a way for him to try and divert away from the enormous scrutiny on Facebook and him trying to branch into something different so that he wouldn't just be associated as like the awful CEO of Facebook. And it failed.
Working. After investing $36 billion into this new venture, Horizon was only used by about 200,000 monthly users at its peak. Since then, it's been dropping in user base drastically. They got so desperate for new users that in August of 2024, they lowered the age gate to 10-year-olds, hoping to get the unsupervised youth addicted to his platform. But despite VR not going exactly to plan, Meta recently launched Orion, their augmented reality glasses that merge the digital and physical landscape.
Because right now, right now we have our phones, but we're like it takes you away from like the physical environment around you. Mm-hmm. You're kind of like sucked into this little screen. I think now in the future, our computing platform, as it becomes more of like a glasses or eventually contact lens form factor, the internet is going to get overlaid on the physical world.
And if you can get past the big goofy frames, this does seem like really cool technology that has been glamorized in sci-fi movies for decades. But all it took was a couple motivated college students to show the dystopian dangers that these glasses provide.
We built glasses that let you identify anybody on the street.
To use it, you just put the glasses on, then as you walk by people, the glasses will detect when somebody's face is in frame. This photo is used to analyze them, and after a few seconds, their personal information pops up on your phone.
Oh, this is me volunteering. June Lee, right? Yeah. Oh my god.
This photo was great. This is like from.
You're from Bergen County Academies?
Yeah.
Your Korean name is Ju Yoon?
Literally just surveillance. We live in a surveillance state.
If that's what two bored college students could create, imagine what a $268 billion company could do. But the only thing Zuckerberg believes in more than the metaverse is artificial intelligence. Mark dubbed 2023 the year of efficiency, with Meta relying on more and more AI, which has resulted in tremendous layoffs. 86,482 people worked for Meta in 2022. Today, 67,317 people work there. That is 19,195 layoffs, or a 22% decrease in the workforce. But Zuckerberg thinks that this is actually a positive thing for humanity, that they will have more time to be creative.
A lot of the code in our apps and including the AI that we generate is actually going to be built by AI engineers instead of people engineers. But I don't know. I think that that'll augment the people working on it. So I mean, my view on this is like the future, people are just going to be so much more creative and are going to be freed up to do kind of crazy things.
And despite his relentless push for more AI and VR, despite him
this is going to make people even more creative,
leading the charge to fuse computers and humans together so that they are one master species, the scariest thing that Mark Zuckerberg is doing is spending all of his time learning the most primal human skills. Take one scroll on Mark's Instagram.
Yeah, surely AI wielded by people like Mark Zuckerberg is going to free up workers' time so that they can spend more time being creative.
And he is constantly posting from his isolated island ranch in the middle of the ocean, hunting, fishing, raising cattle, and learning how to defend himself. It's almost like he is preparing for a catastrophic event. He spent $187 million on 1,600 acres of land on the island of Kwan. This island is also not dependent on tourism, which means that it is currently self-sustaining and survivable. But even if it's not, he is building a 5,000 square foot underground bunker complete with its own energy and food supplies. He even shared a video to his Instagram of a massive movie theater built underground, so at least he won't be bored.
You do have a bunker there. Is there something you know that we don't?
No, I think that's just like a little shelter under, and it's like a basement.
A little shelter. What are you worried about?
A billionaire who can artificially control the information of 3 billion people is not your friend. Mark likely doesn't want to connect with others in the metaverse, but he does want you and your kids there. And the money that you make for him will be used to keep himself isolated on one of the most beautiful, resource-abundant wonders of the world. He will spend the rest of his days having deep conversations with friends, singing songs to his children around a campfire, cooking feasts for his pack using antibiotic-free cattle that they raised, and fresh produce with 0 chemicals and preservatives. He will hunt, fish, fight, and learn how to build things with his hands. He will breathe fresh air, drink fresh water, and enjoy all the precious God-given resources in an age-old utopia. You, on the other hand, will own nothing, live in perpetual debt, spend nearly 100% of your time in the virtual world chasing fleeting moments of pleasure while your physical body withers away. Artificial intelligence will operate as an untouchable ruling class, controlling every facet of existence, optimizing society for profit while suppressing what little remains of human autonomy. You will be trapped in a dystopian hellscape, and you will love it.
Wendy Williams, she spoke about her health.
Jesus. Oh my
Mark
God, he just ends the video like that. That's Patrick CC. I'll link the video there. He's great. I've watched some of his stuff before. Yeah, and you will love it. Yeah, so Mark Zuckerberg has, in fact, changed, but don't be fooled by the way that his PR team has assembled this new Mark Zuckerberg. He is not cool. He is not one of the people. He is not a guy who just wants to make sure that we can all have the right to speech that is free. You know, he's not just a guy who loves to who loves to train in MMA and loves to surf while drinking beer. Yeah, I don't think that anybody's like, wow, Mark Zuckerberg seems so likable. I mean, anybody in here. But there certainly are many who have looked at this new Mark Zuckerberg and are like, damn, he's one of us. He's just a bro.